Hi guys, and welcome to the second video in a series of videos that we are doing on some of the information that we received back from the mystery shopping experience that was rolled out to the network recently. We did the first video on closing, which hopefully you guys have seen, and you did a little training session on that. And now today we are here to talk about test drives, Pete?
Yeah, so we did closing, we're going to do test drives today, and obviously we've got qualification and needs analysis to look forward to, as well as how to do a follow-up. So I think without further ado, let's kick off with why we're talking to you today about test drives. I mean, surely it's obvious that we do test drives.
Well, we also spoke in the closing video about the fact that the test drive can be utilized as a closing technique. And I think it's important that we dive into this a little bit deeper and unpack a lot of these things to understand why this test drive process is such a powerful tool.
And non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable. So as always, in everything that I do specifically, is I really start with looking at what the customer wants, okay? And then we build our processes around that. And research has shown that 70% of our customers said that they would only purchase a car once they've test driven the car. So if that's the case, 70% of our customers wants to do something, what do you think we are doing in the dealership?
So actually, it's a high percentage that want to do a test drive. It's 70% who stated that they decided to purchase a vehicle after the test drive, which again, we could end this video right now because that's the essence of it.
Exactly.
Your customers are deciding to purchase a vehicle after a test drive.
Yeah.
So it's not just a logical transaction. I think at the end of the day, you bring up the concept of this is an emotional decision.
Yeah. And I think this is, again, takes us back to awesome research that's been done. You know, the fact is that our subconscious mind is 30,000 times more powerful than our conscious mind. So what do we do as sales executives? We try and be all transactional and logical about everything, and we forget about the subconscious mind being the real indicator when making this buying decision. And if you think about it, the only place in our sales process that we can afford the customer to take mental ownership of this product is when we do a test drive. You know, statically showing a customer a car on the floor, showing them all the features, explaining all of those things, it's necessary, but how they're experiencing the product.
That's the key. So Cherie Leviton, we've watched a few videos from her, and she talks about this, and she says that if you're just selling a product by showcasing features, you're probably going to battle to sell, and if you do sell, it's going to be at the cost of discount.
Yeah.
But what you've got to be able to do, and this is the science and the art of a test drive, is you've got to be able to illustrate to the customer how this product makes them feel.
Yeah.
And so we've got to think very carefully about the way we're currently doing test drives, because I think we've become very sterile in the way we do test drives, and I think everybody does the same old test drive.
Right, Pete, so you've just said that we've become a little bit sterile in the way that we do the test drives, and I agree with that because we've had a couple of bad test drive experiences at dealerships before. What can we do to make this better? What can we do to take this to the next level?
Well, the mantra that we've been speaking about on a lot of our training, Fani, is personalization. So if we can learn how to personalize the test drive, we're going to make headway with that customer, especially from an emotional point of view.
When you say personalization, what do you mean? Is it only test drives by appointment, or is it test drives? What makes it more personal for the customer?
Look, I think the first prize is to have an appointment. Obviously, if a customer walks into the dealership and they want a test drive, I'm going to accommodate them. But if, as far as possible, I am going to try and make it an appointment, because then there's a whole lot of things that I can prepare for and plan for with that customer, including the hyper-personalization. So little things like, for example, I'll have a welcome board, and it'll be a big screen TV, not just something that's written, that's welcoming the customer by name. That vehicle is going to be ready in the delivery bay, because now I'm going to give them a dry run of a delivery to help them imagine that they are owning this vehicle.
Driving the car off the delivery bay. I like
100%.
Yeah.
So the vehicle is going to be ready. It's going to be, I'm going to have already asked them a few key questions about what radio station and what music do they listen to. How do they like their temperature in their car? What's their seating position like? All these kind of things. if I can, I'm going to customize that vehicle as much as possible around that person and their name, so that when they get there, it's a hyper personalized experience.
Okay, so we've spoken about making it more personal now, but when we do the training and when we speak on test drives, we often get a little bit of pushback from the sales executives in the room saying, yeah, but the customers always own Suzukis, so they don't need to go for a test drive. So what do you say to them?
This is very simple. So in the manual that we're going to be uploading onto Signify for everybody to have a look at, we're going to give you sort of a detailed list of how to create a sensory engagement and the science behind the experience that we've spoken about. But if sales execs tell me that their customer already drives the vehicle and they know all about it, my response to that is simple. And that is that the vehicle that they currently own is probably 3 to 4 years old, if not older.
Yeah.
It no longer smells like a new car. Its suspension is no longer as tight as it was when we bought the vehicle. There are little squeaks that have crept into the equation here. And the danger is that if we don't test drive that customer, somebody else might. And now they are going to experience that sensory experience of a new car smell, of a car that is quieter, of a car that handles tighter, all those kind of things.
Yeah.
And they're going to have that as a reference versus their current vehicle, which is a Suzuki, and they're going to say, well, hang on a second, this other vehicle's better. Whereas a brand new Suzuki is going to be that better option for them. So once again, it reinforces their purchase decision.
It's almost a silent salesman. It's somebody that you need to pull in to help you to close the deal. And the car is going to do that for you, right?
100% if it's done properly. So I think one of the things that we've got to do is we've got to learn how to plan for a test drive properly. And that also talks to the discipline of a test drive. Because one of the mistakes that we make, Fani, is we're far too quick to chuck the key to the customer and let them drive first. And there's a whole lot of disadvantages with that. And that is especially true if we're starting to test drive vehicles that have things like AMT and CVT gearboxes, for example, where if we haven't driven first and illustrated to the customer how to drive these vehicles, the danger is that the customer is not going to enjoy these gearboxes and be turned off by them, for example.
So let's explore the process, if we can. Okay? What are some of the negative things that you've seen and experienced in dealerships before when going for a test drive?
There's no preparation. The vehicles are dirty. And it's simple, basic stuff. The vehicles are dirty. The keys are not available. There's no fuel in the vehicles. I mean, how many times have you done a test drive where you're getting cataracts in your eyes because the yellow reserve light is on all the time? And I mean, that's gonna be off-putting for the customer. So we're not preparing the test drive properly. It's rushed and it's amateurish sometimes, and that just turns the customer off. So we've got to make that precious in the moment count with the customer by preparing the test drive properly.
And that brings us back to the 4 most important things to our customers: speed, information, convenience, and choice, right? So if it's not convenient for a customer to deal with us when it comes to taking a test drive, we are probably going to lose the customer. He's probably going to go to another dealership where it's more convenient for him to do a test drive.
100%.
Make sense?
100%. But now that also reminds me of another point, Fani, and that is we've also got to deal with the different types and generations of customers as well.
Yeah.
So your baby boomers and your generation Generation X, so like me, for example, or Z, what am I? Z.
I don't know, you're old.
That's all that counts. We want to go to the dealership and experience a test drive at a dealership.
Yeah.
But millennials onwards are doing a lot of their research online, and again, that's another sad part is they perhaps are feeling not bothered about going into the dealership to do a test drive. And so one of the things that I want to try and encourage everybody to do is to take the test drive to the customer in some form.
Yeah. I can tell you now that every single test drive I've had where I could take the customer or the car to the customer, and the best test drives I've ever had was late at night after work when I can take the car to their house, because they're not putting the car in their driveway.
Yep.
And we go drive the car in their neighborhood where they know the roads and they know everything about it. They are comfortable. The family's there, the kids are there, the mom's there, everybody's there. That's now creating a mental ownership picture.
And pressure, because if the neighbor sees you and your kids see the car, consider it sold.
True story.
So, Fani, we've gone into, I suppose, some light detail about how to do a test drive. I, again, just want to reiterate that there is a document available on Signify for everybody to go through, and there is a lot of detail about all the specific checkpoints that you should do while doing a test drive. And I'll leave that up to everybody to go and read through. What I want to talk about now, again, is another proof point about why test drives work. And the most powerful one, really, is the closing rates that we experience after we've done test drives. And you've got something to comment on there.
Yeah, Pete, when I was manager at a previous dealer that I worked at, I went through this whole experience myself, and I said to the guys, because we were tracking all of our sales activities, and we could see that we were not doing enough test drives. The bottom line, from opportunity to test drive, the number was just way too low, okay? And we decided to make this a focus area, and I said to the guys that, listen, let's forget about everything else and focus on test drives and see if that does anything to us. And the bottom line is it increased our sales. There's a direct correlation between doing test drives and your closing rate. But what I want to share here is I tried to combine a couple of things into this process of doing the test drive. You guys would remember that we speak about the 6 scientific ways to influence people to say yes, the science of persuasion when we do our bronze sales training. One of those
reciprocal.
It's called one of the factors was reciprocity. And reciprocity means that we're giving somebody that they almost feel the urge or the need to give something back to us, right?
So you've given them something that's unexpected and a little bit personalized.
Correct. So what I introduced to my test drive process was that when a salesperson takes a customer on a test drive, when we come back, we give them a branded cap as a gift.
Awesome.
Okay. Awesome. That's something that I can guarantee you that none of the other dealers would do. Okay. So now I'm tapping into, I'm giving that customer something that's unexpected and personal because it's a nice branded cap. And we did something that no other dealership did. Okay. We gave them the opportunity to test drive the car, take mental ownership. They are probably going to be wearing my cap tonight at home when they're thinking about where they're going to buy this car and who's going to stand out from all of the dealerships that they went to.
And you gave that customer the gift at the right place. I'm very critical of putting out an advert, come in for a test drive and get a free pound of Coke.
Yeah.
Okay, that attracts the wrong type of test drive.
Correct.
And we must be wary of doing test drives for the sake of it and to create volume behind test drives. Let's look at the quality. And a great idea for the managers in the dealerships to consider to reinforce that point is don't incentivize the sales staff to just do X number of test drives. Incentivize them to do the right test drive. So one of the things that I did when I was a dealer principal, for example, and it worked brilliantly, was rather to say to the sales executives, if I get a deal folder, and in that deal folder is a copy of a test drive register, so you've done a test drive and then it's concluded into a sale, there's extra commission and bonus on top of that. So it stopped the sales executives from just doing test drives randomly for the sake of it to build up the numbers and rather force them to look at the quality of the test drive.
I absolutely agree.
Okay, so finally, we've gone through quite a few ideas and given everybody tips about what to do with a test drive. And frankly, I'm pretty sure everybody out there knows exactly what it takes to do a test drive. The question, therefore, remains, why don't we do test drives? And I think it comes down to the fact that we just don't feel like it.
Yeah.
And one of my other favorite characters that I often reference is Mel Robbins. And she said something that's just brilliant, in that if you want any degree of success in life, whatever you want to achieve, whatever it is, whether it's monetary, whether it's sporting, doesn't matter. You can get it. All you've got to do are the things you don't feel like doing.
Absolutely.
And I just think we've gotten to a point where we don't feel like doing test drives.
But there's a reason why we don't feel like doing test drives, Pete, because none of the demos has got fuel in them and we can't find the keys and they are dirty and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's all of those reasons why I wouldn't feel comfortable taking a customer to a car that doesn't have fuel and it's dirty and I can't find the key. That's what we're running around like headless chicken when it comes to this. We need to be more prepared.
Yep.
We need to have some sort of process in place for this whole thing to be streamlined. And remember, we don't want to waste their time. Speed and information, convenience, choice, all of those things need to be part of my process, and then it will work. The final thought from my side is that if we do not get the customer's emotional buy-in, there's no sale. Okay, and we can't get customers' emotional buy-in, connect to their subconscious mind if we don't do a test drive and afford them the opportunity to take mental ownership of the car.
And that's the bottom line. And I just honestly believe that if we put in the effort, we're going to see the results in higher retained margins with our sales, better sales, and certainly we're going to be investing in our long-term future with more consistent sales. So for me, this is a no-brainer. I wish everybody the best of luck. If you implement this, I'm pretty sure you're going to see an increase in sales. And obviously, if you want any further help or any information on how to do a test drive, we're more than welcome to get hold of us.
Have a good one, guys. Do those test drives.
Cheers, everyone.